So today we're going to review this. This is a hub from a company called BYEASY. Now, this is, I think, the first time I reviewed a hub on this channel. That's not to say that I haven't had requests over the last 4 years. I've had plenty, but I've always turned them down because, well, hubs are hubs and, there really wasn't anything special. But when a company called BYEASY reached out and they said they had this really special hub, which is this. Okay, so this is the BYEASY 8-in-1 sort of a tablet hub. I was intrigued because this is the first hub I've seen that has a stand that you can pull out, and you can put your tablets and all that. And actually, speaking about putting tablets or whatever, we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, when I saw this, I had to try it out. Now, the unboxing is pretty simple. You get the hub like this, obviously. You also get a manual and you get a really short USB-C cable. Now, my initial reaction to seeing the length of that USB-C cable was like, oh, they're cheapening out and it is way too short. But honestly, after using it, I realized that having a short USB-C cable that would connect from the hub directly to your tablet or whatever device actually sort of makes sense, because if it was a bit longer, it will be hanging all over the place. This way, it looks a lot neater. But yeah, that's about all in the unboxing. Now, in terms of the build quality, I think this is the thing that impressed me the most about this hub, and I'm really glad that, I agreed to do a review, because the entire thing is made out of metal. It is so solid. It feels like it was built to last. Now, the only thing on the hub that isn't really made of metal are these rubber grips that you see, first of all, at the bottom, all right? So, when you put it on the table, it's not gonna move around, but also on the top, where you would place your tablet, it's got rubber, sort of rubber padding at the bottom, even on this little, like, I don't know what you call it, like a lip or a hook where, the tablet would rest so that it wouldn't fall off. I think that's really good, and that you can see a lot of attention to detail to make sure, that it's built right, and all this design implementation, with the rubber, all that, I think is a really good idea. Now, before we talk about the ports that are available on the hub, I want to emphasize again how impressed I am at the build quality. It is really solid. Now, the area here where you place your tablet is on a hinge, and I think you can hear it. If I turn it around, I don't know why, but that is so satisfying. I really like that. But yes, you can turn it 360. So no matter where you place the hub, you can sort of adjust it to where you want it to face. All made of metal, really solid. It actually takes a bit of effort to close it and to open it. Now, that's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to emphasize it to say that it's a bad thing. It actually just adds on to the feel and the really good quality on how it's built. Now, this thing is so strong that I tested it with a laptop. Yes, an actual laptop. And granted, the Asus laptop that I tested it on is, I would consider it lightweight. Actually, by today's standards, maybe not that light, but I could put it on this stand, no issues whatsoever. I thought that was fantastic and really impressive. So the guys at BYEASY, well done. I cannot find a single fault on the build quality. Now, in terms of connectivity, so on one end, you get the two USB-A ports over here. My guess would be USB 3.0 because, they're blue USB ports. You do get an analog audio out, so that's a really nice touch. Over on the other side, again, really nice. You've got two different SD slots that you can use. You've got a regular SD card slot and a micro SD, so that's really nice. You don't need an adapter, and you have another USB Type-C, one at the side and another one at the back. Now, before we talk about the ports at the back, so the one on the side, this Type-C over here next to the SD card, that's the connection between the hub and your device that you will plug into, right? And then at the back, you have another USB Type-C along with a HDMI and a Ethernet port. Now, the main difference between the two USB Type-C, one is, like I said, to connect to the laptop. The one at the back is actually your power delivery in. So yes, you can plug in like a charger, USB Type-C charger, and it will charge your device at the same time. Again, absolutely fantastic. You've also got a HDMI. It is a single HDMI out. Now, there is actually two different kinds of hubs that look exactly the same, but with one major difference. So this is an 8-in-1 because it has the Ethernet port. They do have a 7-in-1 without the Ethernet port. They're only about $10 difference. So honestly, if I were you, I would just go and pay the extra $10. You never know when you're gonna need that Ethernet port. So in terms of usability, again, I couldn't find a single fault. Yes, you do have a single HDMI, but I think with most tablets and all that, I don't think it supports dual HDMI anyway. Now, I mentioned a lot about tablets. I even connected my phone. So I have an old Samsung Note 10 Plus. That's not my daily driver. I use a Google Pixel 8 Pro, but I also still have my Samsung Note 10 that I still use, and Samsung actually has something called Samsung DeX, if you're not aware. You plug it into a monitor and you actually get sort of like a full computer experience. So if you've got a Samsung phone that supports Samsung DeX, you essentially have a phone/laptop. Now, Samsung does have sort of genuine Samsung DeX hubs that they would encourage you to buy, but the hub works perfectly fine. I couldn't find any issues. I plugged it in, and I could use a keyboard, I could use a mouse, I had my monitors, I could have plugged in speakers if I wanted to. If you have a Samsung phone, you essentially have a laptop. So if you're the kind of person that uses a laptop, really light, more of like doing basic work or just streaming or browsing the internet, you don't really need a laptop. You just need that phone and this hub. Now, like I mentioned, I also tested it out on a laptop and I was really impressed. First of all, the build quality, I put the laptop there and I used it for an entire week actually. No issues at all. The fact that the stand has so many different ways that you can adjust it. I could place my laptop in such a way that it was right next to my monitor, and I essentially had a dual monitor setup. And again, talking about that holder, the fact that, you can sort of adjust it in any way that you want. I actually even tried out putting the monitor on sort of a riser and putting the hub underneath it and then plugging my phone. It was brilliant. You had a really neat setup. So is there anything I don't like about this 8-in-1 hub? Honestly, no. It ticks all the boxes. I will say though that I wish there was an additional USB-A port. In the setup that I had one USB-A port for my mouse, another USB-A port for my keyboard. I had no other USB ports at all. The USB-C was connected to my laptop. I couldn't use that. It would be nice if I had just one more USB-A port that I could use if I needed to connect an external hard drive or a flash drive. Now, I know that can be solved with either one of those keyboard and mouse combos or a keyboard with a trackpad, so I only use one USB-A port. Now, BYEASY does claim that this hub works for your iPad and I think your iPad Pro. Unfortunately, I don't have one to test it out. But that brings me to a really, really important point. Now, if you have a phone or a tablet and you go like, oh, this hub is perfect, just do a bit of research. Make sure that your phone or your tablet actually supports an external setup or an external monitor. So when I tested out the hub, the first thing that I tested it with was this tablet. It's a really cheap tablet from Lenovo. It's the M10 Plus. I tried it out, but it didn't work. I plugged in the keyboard, I plugged in the mouse, I plugged in the monitor, and it just wouldn't detect any of it. Now, I know Android in a sense would be able to support it, but for some reason Lenovo doesn't allow it, I guess. So the moral of the story here is, the hub works great. Just make sure your device actually works with a hub or an external monitor. Now, there is one more thing I want to talk about, and it's that stand for the hub. Now, I did ask and I reached out to BYEASY and I said, is there a way to remove it so that I could just use it as a hub? Because again, it's really portable. It would be really nice to fit in my bag and bring it around. And you actually don't need, even though it has a power delivery in, you don't need to give it any power. If you just wanted the hub, you can use that as well as a passive hub. It works perfectly fine. But when they reached out to me and they said that unfortunately that stand cannot be removed to just use the hub, but they also gave a really good reason. So they said that they put in a lot of effort to design and make sure that the hub supports something really solid, really heavy, and they wanted to make sure that it was a really good quality. And making that stand removable or that holder removable would affect the overall quality and strength of that stand. So I can definitely understand it. I mean, BYEASY, if you guys find a way to make a hub with that stand holder but also removable, yet not sacrificing any of the strength, that would be a plus, and that's something that I would buy immediately. Oh, and by the way, BYEASY, they have some of the coolest hubs I've ever seen. I went to their website and they've got this hub, like I mentioned. They've also got hubs specifically for the Microsoft Surface Pro line of products. Amazing. It's sort of as you just put it on the side, and it's not something that you need to find space on your table. You just put it on the surface. That's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, if you want me to review that, let me know. I'll reach out to BYEASY, and I do have an old Surface Pro 4, so I can definitely test that out. All right, so let's talk about the price. So you can get this 8-in-1 hub either on Amazon.com or on BYEASY's own website. And even if you go to the BYEASY website, there is actually a link to buy on Amazon if you want. but it costs around 69 US dollars. Now, yes, like the title says, there is a promo code, and actually there's two. So if you buy it on BYEASY's own website, use the code TechnoBabble30, and you get 30% off. That will bring it down from 69 to about 49 US dollars, which is an absolute steal. Now, if you want to go to Amazon.com and buy it there, maybe you might get it quicker. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it also costs 69, but when I checked the Amazon US site, you could immediately add a $10 discount without even entering the code. But if you enter the NoBabble10 promo code, you get an additional 10% off. I'm not sure what that turns out to, but try it yourself. Try it from the BYEASY website or try it from Amazon.com. See which one is cheaper. But honestly, it is an absolute steal. It is a great product. Initially, when I first agreed to review this, I sort of regretted it. I thought it was going to be a waste of time and there's going to be nothing interesting. But it turned out to be the opposite. It is extremely well built. And one of the most interesting designs I have ever seen. It is priced so well, even before the discount, that I think it's an absolute steal for anyone who needs something like this. And the functionality, everything, I couldn't find a fault. And because of that, I am going to give this BYEASY hub a full 5 out of 5 and a TechnoBabble recommended logo. Alright, so this about wraps up my review of the excellent BYEASY 8-in-1 hub with the tablet holder. Now, if you like this video, you know what to do, and I would love it if you were subscribed to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications on our next video. I'm JP, and I'll see you real soon.